The sound of drums. The sound of bass. The sound of vocals. Dancing on a tightrope. The sound of guitar. Welcome to The Sound Of with Steve Black and Ann Carlini.
It'll come as no surprise to either of my guest hosts that I have not seen Surviving R. Kelly or Finding Neverland, but I'm aware of the repercussions. I guess some radio stations, quite a number, dropped R. Kelly, and a few even at least said they were going to drop Michael Jackson songs. Have you guys seen or are aware of? Where are you at on this?
Well, I know the one stations dropping R. Kelly, it happened before Michael Jackson, and then they kind of, waffled on it a little bit, and then they kind of said, okay, well, we'll bring it back after, of course, R. Kelly, of course, had a fit about it, but that's money to them. When they say, hey, we're not going to play your tune, that's a huge chunk of how much these artists make, is when you hear their music being played.
Yeah, royalties, right?
Exactly. So then, after Surviving R. Kelly, and now in recent
I thought he had no money. Couldn't get out of jail, has no money.
Millions. He had millions.
Yeah. He's got money.
And then he claims that he went in this interview with Gayle King, that he went to a bank for the very first time, Bank of America, and only to find out that he had no money. So it's so convoluted what he's saying.
Jeez.
But when you don't have $100,000 to get yourself out of jail, and this is what I heard the first time he went in.
And you're some kind of pop star?
A fan paid it.
Yeah, I heard that too, that a fan came up with the cash.
And then just recently, as today, he was in again for non-child support. Same thing. $100,000, but no one's saying where the money came from.
Right.
Slime ball or no slime ball, what I really wanted to get to is it really up to radio stations to decide what they want to, isn't it up to the individual to decide if they want to listen to a song
That's
or not?
what I would think.
I mean, are we really at that point now where we're going to judge everything essentially politically and play
if
and
that
not
was the
play?
case, there should be a lot of artists that's not being played.
No kidding.
So
no kidding.
Yeah, it should be individual based. Because I loved R. Kelly, all his older stuff, 12 play and all. I'll listen to that to this day. I mean, regardless of what he did, what he does in his personal time, I don't agree with it, but he made some hits.
You're talking about a company. You're talking about branding. You're talking about when people hear that song, they're not having great feelings. All of a sudden, the discussion is turning exactly to where we were talking about. All of a sudden, it gets negative. Same thing with Michael Jackson. Canadian stations dropped his music. Stations in New Zealand. Remember, this is a worldwide artist, so that's still going to cut money out. And there are a lot of stations who have said that they've just taken him off their playlist for the meantime. So he's such a huge artist. Who knows that maybe in a couple of years when all this dies down. But remember, we're reliving this again for the second time, and rumors flying around about Michael Jackson for years before that.
Right.
So this is not any new accusations, but people don't want you to turn in their radio station and hear a Michael Jackson song and get creeped out, because all of a sudden that's not just a Michael Jackson song anymore. You're thinking about that Leaving Neverland HBO documentary that you just saw 2 nights ago. And it's disgusting. So that's what you're thinking about. And Pretty Young Thing takes on a whole different meaning after you watch that documentary.
And who did that? Was that R. Kelly?
Michael Jackson.
No, Michael Jackson.
Oh, okay.
Rev, will you kick him?
I don't know what to do with this guy, man. Sometimes I think he's acting. I mean, it's Michael Jackson.
No, I don't think he is. This is the thing I'm telling you.
Because Michael Jackson, Frank Zappa, that's
a couple different worlds.
Yeah,
okay,
that's like
you know
North
what? As long
Pole,
as you
South
brought
Pole.
it up, I bet you lyrically Zappa's songs are far worse than anything Michael Jackson ever wrote.
Absolutely, because Michael Jackson isn't singing anything
but
vulgar or nothing like that.
But the difference is here, and granted this is an accusation, right? As some of these lyrics that Michael Jackson is singing may have actually happened, whereas Frank didn't really pour chocolate syrup on his daughter. Like, that didn't actually happen. That's just him being silly and ridiculous with lyrics, right?
But who's to say?
I'm pretty sure. Well, the lyric I'm addressing is happens on the White House lawn. So I think we would have found out about that. Had
Yes,
it actually
very true.
happened, I
Very
think
true.
we would have found out about it.
I don't know, man. I didn't see what is it, Leaving Neverland? Or whatever
Yeah.
it's called.
Yeah.
I haven't
Or is it
seen it,
Finding?
but
Yeah.
I watched the news bits and clips or whatever, and I get it. Okay, if something happened, it's horrible. It's horrible. But however, Mike's dead. He's gone. What are you gonna
make
What are you gonna get from
anything
this,
horrible
though?
that he did less horrible?
Very true. But what are you gonna get from this? Now you come out and
It's
say all
not.
this
See,
stuff.
but people who say that to me, maybe I'm not saying for sure, don't understand what it's like to be a survivor, because as a survivor of that, it has to come out.
I agree.
Because if it doesn't, then you're living in a prison and in pain all your life. And the reason that these people suffer like they do is because they were abused because of silence, because no one spoke about it.
Right.
And they continue to hold that silence in and give more power to the abusers. So what these people are doing, R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, they're coming forward and saying, I'm going to speak about it. I'm going to say it, and I don't care how old I am or how long ago it happened. It's the same thing with
Right.
the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing with all these people coming out, and I just say that because I know someone who personally, not until in his 40s. So you can say, well, he's dead, it doesn't matter. You're not the person.
True. I'm not saying it don't
You're
matter.
saying it may not
That's
matter
not what
to
I mean.
you.
That's not what I meant.
It
but-
doesn't matter to you. You
Right.
don't care. But, to someone who that happened to, that is their entire world that came
And that's
crashing
what makes
down.
it so hard to, I don't want to say hard to believe, but I mean, how can you believe them, or how can you believe that Mike really did it? It's like,
Just
from
the way
somebody
he
that didn't
lived
have
his
it-
life
but
seems evidence to
Mike
me
didn't
that he
have
did
a
weird
childhood
things.
at all.
Okay, there are a lot of people who didn't have childhoods
Right.
who didn't grow up and let little boys sleep in their beds.
Very true. I
Okay,
disagree with that.
So
I would not let
this
that
is the
happen.
thing: is that as a person with children, the ultimate question is: would you drop off your children and leave them at the house? It's just because when you have children, you are seeking out people who just don't seem right,
Right.
Because you're always worried about your child,
Right.
And just 10% of what he did would give you enough to say, you know what, I don't think so.
Right.
If it was any other person. So there's so much evidence as a parent for you to say, you know what, I think we'll just go our separate ways. There might be something there.
Right.
That's what you're hearing people say. So as a person who doesn't have a child, you're going, well, I don't know, it could be, couldn't be.
Right.
Well,
I mean,
It's-
Shouldn't have been, because you should have done some parenting. That's what you're saying. Shouldn't
but
have been.
I have yet to
Yeah.
meet a grown man who says, hey, it's okay for a 7-year-old boy to sleep in the bed with me who's not mine. Is that okay? Would you
It's
sleep with a
not okay.
7-year-old
No,
boy? Okay,
absolutely
he
not.
said it was okay.
it's not okay.
It's only okay
It's
if
not
you only
okay.
have one glove.
Shut up.
Steve.
Oh, my God.
What? I knew something.
Stop.
That was a reference. That was the
Stop
only
it.
reference I know.
Oh my God. He's gonna hee you.
Uh-huh. What?
He's gonna hee you.
Hee hee.
Yes, that's what he does. Hee hee. You know.
Oh, is that his laugh?
No.
Hee hee. I'm just missing it, right?
You're just missing.
Do I have
it.
to do it again?
All right. Well, just assume that that's humorous.
Well, already the Jackson family is just,
Yeah.
I mean, they are fighting this tooth and nail, but Michael Jackson is their bread and butter. That is where their cash cow lies, dead
Yeah.
or alive. He was always the cash cow. And now Drake has dropped a song that he had with Michael Jackson. Simpsons took one of their shows out of rotation that featured Michael Jackson's voice. So you tell me if this is not making an impact, because
Oh, it definitely is.
You can't hear it. You can't. The accusations are so vile. This is not someone who disagrees with you politically. This is not someone who made an ass out of themselves because they were drunk one night. These are two people who committed atrocities if it's true.
I agree. I agree.
I want to personalize it a little bit. So let's use Ted Nugent. As you know, I worked with Ted. I knew him pretty well. I mean, the broadcast place that we did was on his property, right? I have had 50 meals with Ted Nugent over the course of my life. I feel like I know him. So he wrote songs about having sex with underage girls. We'll go with, how about this? A quote from one of his lyrics, therefore, this is public. This isn't anything anybody said in private. His lyrics, literally taken from the song, are, I know that she's just 13, but she looks too good to be true. I just know that she's probably clean, and there's one last thing I'd like to do to you.
Yeah,
so
that's bad.
Quote unquote joking about 13, but we also know that there were underage girls that he got their parents to sign an agreement to make him their legal guardian so he could take them out of his state. So like this happened, clearly. Underage girls happened. Consensually, I want to add that. Consensually, it happened. But the point I'm trying to make beyond all of this is I can still enjoy Ted's music. So am I like a bad person? Like I don't listen to those songs in particular, but I got to tell you.
Elvis Presley married a 14-year-old.
Jerry Lee Lewis.
Jerry Lee Lewis married his cousin, who was way underage. Chuck Berry wrote Sweet Little 16. Mm-hmm. They were talking, I mean, I'm not going to take away from what you said about Ted Nugent, and I don't know anything about that, but they were writing to teenagers. They were specifically writing rock and roll to teenagers when those lyrics came out. They didn't think anybody over the age of 21 was going to even care about this music. They were writing sock hop music, you know? I mean, even the Beatles wrote, you know, she's only 17 and you know what I mean. Where now, it's like, now we would be appalled. But back then, it was like, well, of course. There's teenage music. But what these men did when it comes to underage women, there was a time and a place, unfortunately, where women were women, no matter what age they were, in some people's eyes. But that is not what we're talking about.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that I disagree with some things that people have done in their lives, yet I can still enjoy their art.
I can too. But
I'm not saying that I don't think Michael Jackson was a genius, and I mean, and I love his music, but for a company to play it right now,
right,
it's too hot an issue. It evokes a negative reaction.
So it's more about the fact that this has gone viral, that this is a social media firestorm, and it's an HBO firestorm, and it's not about what he did in the music.
Listen, when he was on trial, when they took these kids into a courtroom and he was found not guilty, they still played Michael Jackson music because there were too many people who said it's not happening. These men say that he coached them, told them exactly what to say on the stand, even their parents. So, but now we're in a different frame of mind. It seems like since the Me Too movement took place, people have given up the ghost. It's like, okay, abuse happened. Okay, these things are happening. We're going to listen now.
Right.
You know, we're not going to defend these people anymore. It just seems like there has been some type of turn in society. I can't explain it. I feel it.
But if it's based on that media storm, that's more acceptable to me. Whereas if you're just going to start basing everything on everybody's actions, we're not going to be able to listen to much music. We're not going to be able to watch many films. We're not going to be able to watch TV.
That's true.
But it ruined Kevin Spacey's career.
It did.
I mean, there are actors who have been through the same thing.
But I can still watch things Kevin Spacey was in, and I'm okay with it. Now, I'm not okay with what he did. I can still enjoy a movie that he was in.
But if you're, if you're Netflix and you're faced with this is a big decision for a company, you know. I totally understand that. To everyone, it's their own personal choice. Personally, I loved Kevin Spacey as an actor, you know. But if I was a survivor, I may feel differently.
Yeah, and I would not. By the way, I would not have employed him.
So wait
I
a
agree
minute.
with you on that. When it was that when
Don't
everything
get mad
came
at
out.
me,
Yeah.
but
Uh-huh.
what did Kevin Spacey do?
He was accused of molesting
Using
and
his position of power to
Yes.
solicit sex from other men on set,
and
they were young
boys.
at the time. Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I shouldn't have said men, boys.
right.
Wow.
So enough to get him taken off his hit
Right,
series.
absolutely.
And ruin his
And he should
career.
be,
and
though.
he's going to stand trial, I think, or I'm not sure.
And he didn't
Is this
really
recently?
deny
Yes.
it either. He
Wow.
he just kind of said that he thinks the children remembered it differently than he did.
What I do know is
That's
that
not a hard denial.
what I do know is money has a big issue over this. I mean, because if you got money, technically you get away with a lot of stuff, no matter what you did. Murder, rape, whatever. You can as long as you got the money, you can get away with it, you know. And the crazy thing about R. Kelly is that even though this happened to women, there's a
Or young
lot of
girls.
women out there, young girls.
Right.
There's a lot of women and girls, teens, that's supporting him now, thinking he didn't do it. And we was having this conversation earlier with one of the guys in the school that I delivered to. We was having this conversation about R. Kelly, and I said, you know what? I guarantee if R. Kelly get out of jail today and then go to an arena and put on a show, it'll probably sell out.
I don't know about sell out, but I'll tell you is that there are plenty of men who are in jail who get
Absolutely.
letters from women.
Yes.
Manson actually Charlie Manson was married
Yeah.
when he passed away. I mean, now how does that, you're going to marry a guy who has a swastika carved into his
Right.
forehead, but they're out there. That doesn't mean anything to me.
doesn't. It
Because
doesn't.
there's always a section of society who gravitates toward that.
Damn.
What's
No, I was going to make a joke, and then I realized it's inappropriate, so I'm not making it.
Thank you, dear God. He stopped.
Yeah,
He's learning.
Yep.
Well, Ted Bundy.
Yeah. Ted Bundy.
There you go. Wife wouldn't believe it for a long time. I mean, they say these serial killers are very charismatic. And when you have someone who has money, influence, and who's charismatic, R. Kelly, Michael Jackson, and boy, they can get just about anything they want.
It's true. I mean,
And
did you?
that's because those two men just made your point.
Very true. You're right.
And that's what makes it dangerous, is that because he's not the common guy on the street. Because if any other guy, if you told someone, Rev, that you had 7-year-old boy sleeping in your bed, you'd be arrested. But Michael
killed.
Jackson, but Michael Jackson somehow it was okay.
Yeah,
The
people
money,
thought
the
it was
power.
cute.
It was
like he would
oh,
literally
didn't have-
walk around town
then
and
the
hold
big
hands with
excuse,
children.
Oh, he didn't have a childhood. Well, okay, as if that's some type of excuse.
Well, everybody try to lean towards like, oh, Mike's like that because he's very feminine. He's a man, but he's a very. I'm like, nah.
I tried to cut him a little bit of space when this was first accusations were happening. What was that, the 90s? Because I thought he was mentally ill.
You know what? I kind of did too.
I mean,
because
he's a black guy that was trying to become white.
It was
the
but-
plastic surgeries on his face.
But it wasn't that,
the weird
Steve. It
stuff
was
that he
Joe
was doing.
Jackson. It was his dad.
Yeah, his
dad
was
was
crazy stuff.
abusive.
Yeah.
Those
Very
kids
abusive.
performed no matter what.
Yeah,
So
he was
that's
damaged.
to
man.
me. That's what I thought too. That exactly. That
And
he
just
was
remember,
a little
hurt people
damaged.
hurt people. You know,
Yeah.
so
Which, again, doesn't make it right.
it doesn't
mean he
make
gets
it
a free
right at
pass
all.
by any means.
It
But,
doesn't make it all.
Yeah.
But it's just a crazy world, man.
I don't think you're going to hear R. Kelly or Michael Jackson out there for a while. I think this is going to have long-lasting effects. And maybe, who knows, years? We can't predict.
I just
But
hope it doesn't get to a point where I have to stop listening to Alice Cooper because his lyrics are questionable.
But we're not talking about lyrics.
All right.
We're not talking about like what they put in their songs, about what they put out there artistically, because our artistic art is subjective. What they did, it was what they did in their personal lives that were so vile. It's not their art, but unfortunately what they did was so atrocious that it affected everything they did. To the point where I can't even look at you anymore. I can't even listen to it. That's how people feel. So it's not about don't mix up their artistry with their personal choices. That's
Well,
what
I watched
say.
the R. Kelly, Surviving R. Kelly, and listen, my opinion, he may not done it, or he may have done it, but he did something. He did something wrong that he had no business doing. But listening to everybody's testimonies and everybody's, coming out and saying what had happened, it just made me think, like, where was the parents? Because the parents was there. The parents was involved. They let this happen. They let them go there. And then all of a sudden, their kids can't see their parents anymore, and they're being held captive. Yeah, it's
money.
What it is.
But
did the parents get paid off?
I believe, listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. Sorry, but there's been way too much smoke. You hear someone bring up something, oh, he was horrible to me, bad husband, bad boyfriend. You hear it once, but then you hear it twice. And then you hear it the fifth and sixth and seventh time. And all of a sudden, same thing happened with Bill Cosby. No one wanted to believe those women for a long, long time.
Bill's my man. I love Bill, man. It was wrong what he did, but I love Bill, man. How could you not like Bill Cosby? I mean, he's the reason why I eat Gello.
This is the sound of.
Are you going to put all this out there? Steve.
I'm just watching the jokes pass by. There's a good 40 jokes that could have been smoke, there's fire, the total number of people. I'm just letting them all go. I know I can't use them. I know this is all going to be edited out.
Crazy world, man.
That's a good one.
I am going to keep the Gello point.
He's the reason why I eat Gello.
The Sound of's weekly top 7 lists. Here are Ann Carlini and Steve Black's selections from 7 to 1.
Ivan Moody from Five Finger Death Punch, celebrating recently 1 year sober. First of all, congratulations. That band, talk about a band that should have a movie made about them someday.
Seriously. Wow. I mean, Ivan has had some serious meltdowns on stage. And there were times when we didn't know if Ivan was going to make it or not. Yeah. One night he called out his own band. They got so pissed they just put down their instruments and walked off the stage.
Can you imagine walking out on your singer?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wow.
Leaving him all alone on the stage. I mean, if that isn't the ultimate FU, I don't know what is. But so when I read this, that Ivan had announced that it was 1 year of sobriety, I was so happy for him, and I'm sure that his family and friends are just ecstatic. But when you said, okay, well, let's do our top 7 favorite Five Finger Death Punch tunes. So, whenever we do these lists, Steve, I always like to relive some of the songs, re-listen to them. And I thought, oh my God, it's like my 3 on the bottom are almost like the same type of writing material. It's like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore. Get me out of here. It's like they're just all filled with total despair.
Yeah, they have songs about my childhood was rough, and they have songs about I want to punch you in the face.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no in between. So, yeah, I mean, if any band really puts it out there, it's Five Finger Death Punch. But when you start to relive their catalog, I really have to say this about this band. Their writing is just incredible. The lyrical content, and you can say, yeah, a lot of it deals obviously with Ivan Moody's struggle, his inner demons, but my God, does anybody express that better than Ivan? And then he goes to this total demonized screaming in the song, and then he goes to this really sweet little melody.
Yeah.
And he's got such a
a
beautiful
little
tone.
Phil Anselmo in him. Yeah. He's got a little bit of that Pantera approach where he can do either. He can really sing a lovely melody.
Yes.
But he can also, gargle glass.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
First time when I saw Five Finger Death Punch, and I said, oh, wow, I can't wait to hear whatever the song was that was I don't know, Far From Home or whatever it was, whatever the hit was. And, Bad Company. And they said, wow, have you ever seen them before? And it was like, no. And they go, oh, you don't know that they're a Screamo band? What? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah. They're totally nothing like this. And then it was like, I saw him, I went, oh my God, what am I watching? It was just totally different than what what I thought I was going to see.
And good musicians in the band, too. I've seen them live now 6 different times, I want to say, and thoroughly entertaining. Although my everlasting impression of Ivan, the curse and the super cool factor of Shiprocked. Yeah. I'll never be able to think of Ivan again without his lobster pajamas.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Because Gina and I, we get up early. Yeah. Right? And she's a teacher, so she's got to go to school, and we've got dogs, and the dogs want to get up, and they want to get out, and they want to eat, and whatever. So we're up at 7:30 regardless of if we're on Shiprocked or not. So 7:30 in the morning, we're out to get breakfast. Who's awake still but Ivan, walking around in his lobster pajamas?
That must have been hilarious.
It was great.
Wow. Number 1 metalhead right there. Nice PJs, Ivan.
So let's go with number 7 on the list. For me, it comes off of the Got Your 6 album, Wash It All Away.
Oh, that made my list too.
Did it?
Yeah, a little bit higher.
Yep.
Little bit higher on my list. But again, one of those songs that we were just talking about, that Jekyll and Hyde persona, where he's screaming, I hate it. And finally he talks about all the things that have been bugging him in his life and then just puts it out there, so that angst. I mean, I don't know. The grunge bands can only dream of angst like Ivan Moody puts out there, right? But yeah, Wash It All Away. I just love it.
I hope singing those songs every night for him is cathartic and doesn't immediately take him back to the depression he was in when he wrote them.
But, you can look at some of these songs one way or the other, and we'll talk about that as we get deeper in the list. But Wash It All Away actually was 3, 4, was number 5 on my list.
Okay.
Number 7 was Coming Down.
Yeah, I like Coming Down as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to tell you, man, you do not want to watch this video. Please, I'm begging you.
I haven't seen it, so I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Because you just told me not to.
I'm recalling Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam saying that after he saw the video that they made for Jeremy,
right,
that he would never make another story video again because he didn't like the story they put to the song. This story is horrible. Definitely about suicide. I mean, stay away from the ledge. And I'm coming down, save yourself, words like that. And it's definitely about suicide. So listen to the song, and I choose to take the positive away from it, and I wish I would have watched that video. That's all I can say.
Number 6 for me, and this might be a little higher on your list if it made your list. Lyrically, it might be their best song. It is a painful, painful song lyrically. Remember Everything from American Capitalist.
Yeah, Remember Everything did not make my list.
Yeah. Because it talks a little bit about what it was like to be a child and how his parents treated him and how he went through different things. And then it, of course, goes to the chorus of, and I remember everything. Like the song is basically about, I'm not forgiving you. Or if I am forgiving, you can bet your ass I ain't forgetting.
So do you think that Ivan's psychiatrist is getting some type of licensing fee for some type of creative talent fee?
You would hope.
Number 6 for me is another one of those, tunes that just reek of despair, and that's Far From Home. Heaven is trying to do everything it can to bring me down. He just views life as like, everywhere I look, it's obstacle after obstacle, and my God, what a struggle his life must be.
Yep, and Far From Home, by the way, is number 5 on my list.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah, that was. I was introduced to Five Finger Death Punch a little bit earlier, like going back to The Bleeding and some of their earlier, harder edged albums, but none of those songs made an impact on me until I got to Far From Home. That was the song that made me then kind of go back and re-listen to some things and also open my mind for future Five Finger things. I don't know why it spoke to me the way it did, but that song made a big impression on me.
It really made it more palatable because for a lot of people, I'll include myself, it's like I can only take the screamo so much. I got to have something other than that. I like it when it accents the tune, and I think that Five Finger does that beautifully.
They do.
They use
yeah.
it when they need to. So we already said number 5 was Wash It All Away From Me, and where are you at?
That was number 5 for me, was Far From Home. So we'd be at 4.
Number 4 for me is one of their newer tunes, When the Seasons Change. And
are we in a car wash, by the way? It sounds like we're in a
I
car
know.
wash.
I'm sorry. This is. I do a special broadcast from a studio outside of the radio station, and I don't even want to tell you where the studio is, but there's all sorts of noise. Hey, guess what? You're going to be broadcasting live. Oh, I see it's not soundproof.
And,
is it supposed to be?
And if it's a little echoey, we're in the fishbowl. Like it's all windows everywhere, so everybody can stare at us, which is cool.
Yeah.
But then, of course, everything echoes off the glass walls.
Exactly. So apologize for that. And that list didn't make my list. That song didn't make my list either. I apologize. When the Seasons Change, I won't let them bring you down. And it's interesting to me how Ivan is writing this almost as a love song to someone else, but it seems like he's talking about, I'm going to help you. I'm reaching out my hand to you, but at the same time...
Helping himself?
Yes,
that was the impression
he also
I
mentions him, but he says you in the song as
like
well.
he's looking in a mirror. That's the way I took it.
Really?
I have no idea how he intended it.
I never even thought
but
about that.
That was the way I took it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe he is talking to himself. I'm not going to let you down.
Because it kind of came out right about the same time of sobriety. And a lot of times people see themselves as two different people, that Jekyll and Hyde is the drunk one and then the sober one.
Well, I think you also...
And I'm probably making all of this up. Because who knows what he was actually thinking?
No,
I don't know.
And that's the beauty of it. We really don't. We're only guessing. But, I just really... It's really just a moving, touching song. You know, it just... It's almost like his love song.
Yeah.
So, if there is such a thing for Five Finger.
Number 4 for me works because... Generally speaking, I'm that guy that's in the middle. Like, I always try to see both sides of things. I'm not a huge complainer about... I'm the guy in the middle, right? And the wrong side of heaven and the righteous side of hell is that. Like, I'm not quite so evil that I'm hell, but I'm certainly not nice enough that I'm heaven. And there's something about that song, about just being that person in the middle.
Well, I will tell you this, Steve, that was number 1 on my list.
Was it? All the way to 1, huh?
My absolute favorite Five Finger Death Punch tune. And again, it's difficult to watch the video because as you're watching this, they're giving you stats on homeless vets.
Wow.
And Five Finger has done a lot of tours, to entertain the veterans for the, over there, the
charity
troops.
For them. Yeah.
Big time. And this wrong side of heaven and the righteous side of hell. But is there no better opening for a song? I spoke to God today, and she said she's not ashamed.
Right.
And then he talks to the devil, and, he says he feels just like I do.
Right.
But it's just like the opening of that song, I spoke to God today. It was like it just grabs you.
Right.
Just grabs you to the... And when you think about, he's talking about this a soldier who goes over there, let's say innocent, and then leaves in another way.
Right.
He's trying to describe that, how these men and women must feel. But he does it in such an incredible way. But once again, the video puts it out there, their dedication to the military, because they're really trying to get across how much they care and that, we should be aware that there are veterans out there really struggling.
And as long as we're talking about veterans, this is interesting too, because it's not an all-American band, right?
No.
The guitarist is Canadian, and the other guitarist is from Hungary. He's Hungarian.
Zoltar.
Yeah, Zoltan Bathory.
Zoltan.
Yeah. Yeah. So, interesting. It's just an interesting mix of people, period. A couple of Americans, Canadian, and a guy from Hungary.
Yeah, love that song.
Yeah.
So, number 3 for me is Battleborn.
Same here. Same spot, number 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Don't you just love it? Like they put the plane sounds in the background?
Yes.
I mean, it's just so
Jet
obvious.
taking off?
Yeah. So obvious, like what he's talking about. You know, they've been on the road for so long. It's like it's just tearing him up. It's like, wow. You know, he feels Battleborn. Just an awesome, awesome song. Musically, everything just fits.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of that Rocky mentality of I'll win in the end because I can just take more punishment than you can hand out,
Yeah.
right? Like Rocky wasn't the best fighter. He could just take your blows.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter how much you beat me up, I'm still going to stand.
Yeah.
And that was the take I got from that song. It's
Yeah,
like, you
I
can
don't-
beat the hell out of me, but I'm still going to be here tomorrow. You know?
I don't know where I'm going, but I know just where I've been.
Yeah.
It just, you know, he's a vagabond, castaway, battleborn. It's just all those words just come together to describe like their lives. They must feel like that, you know, the band on the road constantly. Number 2 for me is Lift Me Up. And there was no way I was going to put together this without including something that they included Rob Halford on.
Yeah.
Because Rob Halford, the metal god, all of a sudden comes in that second verse, and it's like, oh my God.
And they work well together.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah. Ivan and Rob together, man. That's, yeah. By the way, same for me. Number 2 is Lift Me
Get
Up.
out,
Yeah,
really?
Absolutely.
Oh my God, Steve, we have almost the same list. I think this is the most we've connected with.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was really, when I put it down, I mean, if it wasn't for Wrong Side of Heaven, I mean, it would have been number 1. I talk about a rockin' tune. Oh my God, it's just, I just love it. And I know Rob Halford said he was just so excited to work with Five Finger because now he's brought into a newer type of metal band.
Right.
You know, and like you said, it just all works.
And that's more aggressive. Among their hits, that's one of the more aggressive songs. Right? That one's pretty heavy. It doesn't stop down for much. The adrenaline hits right from the opening riff, and it doesn't really quit. So
No, there is no nice little harmony piece.
right.
It's in your face all the way.
And then number 1 on my list is a song that was never a single. Most people probably don't know it. And it's even a little bit comical, but it is just the greatest middle finger song. It is so much fun. It's called Dot Your Eyes.
Dot Your Eyes. Where is that from?
It's on the Wrong Side of Heaven album.
Okay.
And I put it in my iPod because it's such a good gym workout. And I mean, if I'm in the gym and that comes on, forget it. I can't leave. Like it's so powerful. And the lyrics they're kind of comical, but it's, you know, you can say what you want about me. You can do what you want. You can do whatever. But in the end, I'm going to dot your I, meaning punch you in the face, and cross your F and T.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I'll dot your I and cross your F and T. And then it just back into that riff. And it's very middle finger, but it's done in a comedic sort of way. And it's so aggressive. And the guitar work is so good.
Have you ever seen them do it that live?
I have, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it great? Is the
yeah.
whole crowd going crazy?
Not everybody knows the song, but yeah, it's heavy enough that most people are jumping. It's got a bounce to it, so it's one of those where the whole main floor sort of bounces, jumps up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What happens on Shiprock when people are doing that? When they're in the mosh pit and they're jumping up and down? And,
You can't feel it that much.
no?
No.
It must be like right in the middle of the ship. So it doesn't lean one side or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see Five Finger Death Punch around for a while. I think that they still have a lot of songs left in them.
There ain't nothing in this world for free. There's not a man I believe. Give a rat's ass what you think about me. I'll dot your eyes and cross your teeth.
This is the sound of. Previously on The Sound of.
Well, and according to at least one article, we have entered the 5th era of music.
Yes, the recording industry of American artists, I think that's what the acronym stands for, the RIAA, has announced that streaming has now accounted for 2/3 of the record industry income, of the money coming in. So that means that we have entered the 5th era of the way that we get music.
which their counting isn't very good.
Okay.
Wouldn't this be the 6th, or do they just combine digital downloads with streams?
No. What they did was, in the tape era, they combined all tapes.
Oh, so they combined
tapes.
8 tracks and cassettes.
Yeah.
Well, to me, those were very
MP3.
distinctly different, not only things, but different eras. I think of them as totally different eras. Like, to me, cassettes were more 80s, whereas I can certainly remember having 8 tracks in the 70s.
Yeah, I think it's just the format that they're interested in. So you have vinyl, of course, and then tape, and then the third would be CD, and then the fourth would be downloads, and the fifth is streaming now.
Streaming.
Yeah. So downloads, actually, they say this will be the shortest amount of time that any format has existed, because they actually think that it's going away.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole business model has changed. You don't really need to own anything anymore. If you stream, well, there's a million examples, but let's use Apple, for instance, because they were created, the iPod was created on you buying and downloading music. Well, now they have Apple Radio, and it's subscription-based. You just pay a subscription, and you have access to every song you want.
Yeah, they say that after 4 years, that Apple, it's rumored to stop selling downloads, which is, actually one of the reasons why I wanted an iPhone.
Right.
Because, I love that access to my iTunes.
Well, if you pay the subscription, you'll still have access.
You do, but I think that you have to pay for a premium in order to create a playlist. And herein lies the problem, Steve, because I want to have control over my music.
Right.
You and I, as both DJs, I actually take pleasure in creating playlists.
Sure.
What used to be called mixtapes back in the day.
Sure.
But I like to go to certain playlists because, hey, it's a day when I feel like this is the type of music. I want to listen to sad music. I want to listen to up music. I want to listen to some metal this day. I want to listen to just this artist. And I've created these playlists for music that I've downloaded because I only wanted certain songs. But I think with Spotify, if you get premium Spotify, you can create playlists. But I have not ventured there yet.
Yeah, probably for the same reason. Neither one of us are big streamers because we like to own, we like to physically hold when we can, but also we like to create our playlists. We like to own and manipulate our own music. I've got a crazy amount of downloaded music, but the majority of it wasn't purchased in the digital format. The majority of it was I grabbed a CD off the wall and uploaded it into my computer.
I've done that as well. Yeah, just because I got
with thousands of CDs, I've done that.
Because I'm thinking I already bought it.
Right.
I have it. Why am I buying it again? Yet, there are times when I'm just flat out lazy and I said, I'm just going to buy the song. All I have to do is type in my password and I have the stupid song. Why am I going through all this?
I've never been like, okay, I can see the CD from where I'm standing and I'm going to buy it anyway. But I have damn it, where did I put that? Who did I loan that to? Well, how come I can't find it? All right, I'll buy it. I've done that once or twice.
And there's always the inevitable clunker, on the CD, or, we used to complain about it, when we bought albums.
Yeah.
At least you could fast forward through the tape.
Right.
But, with an album, you had to physically get up, pick up, the needle, place it on the next song. And most of the times, the bad songs just got to you as well. You started singing along with it because you were, again, just too lazy to walk across the room, to pick up the needle. It was bad enough you had to flip it over to the second side. But so I found myself, when I'm downloading tunes, only downloading, I'm thinking, oh, there's so many great songs on that album, but what do I really want to buy again?
Right.
And I inevitably just go for the 2 or 3 songs that I love the most. Mm-hmm. It's not that I haven't bought entire albums. And now I just bought an album by a brand new artist, and I was shocked at the cost. It was $7.99. Yeah,
most of the digital copies are... unless it's a Taylor Swift, it's a really big name, you'll pay $12 or whatever it used to be. But a lot of the, I wish I knew more about what the percentages were, but I see that often, albums in the $7.99 range.
I thought, wow, this woman is so good these songs are so good. Why am I only paying $7.99 for it? It almost seemed like a crime. I thought it should have been more.
And by the way, you'll hear artists complain all the time, and we talked about this in a past podcast about how, streaming doesn't earn any money. Well, it doesn't earn any money for the artists. It still is earning money. In fact, what we're talking about is the total combined sales, but the number in this article that we were talking about is $8.8 billion generated by sales of music, or sales/streaming, meaning somebody paid, not for the free streaming, but somebody paid a subscription to do that.
Yeah, I found an article, Spotify was in the news over the last year or so because they're being sued. $1.6 billion, if that gives you an indication as to how much money, these companies are making. So this is a lawsuit that was filed by somebody called Wixon Publishing, a music publishing company that includes Tom Petty, The Doors, and Rage Against the Machine. So their group of lawyers found a loophole that was actually meant for player pianos. And it says that these publishing companies, that they have to notify the artists in writing that they're going to use their music. And of course, in this day and age, what does that mean? You mean I have to send you something through the mail?
Right.
I have to, sign a piece of
email
paper?
could be an option. But.
Yeah. It said that, when the player pianos came out, that the artists, couldn't keep track of, every role that was being, being played in the country. So, they said, well, you have to notify them in writing that, you've
intend
created,
to use their music.
Exactly. Right. Which makes absolutely no sense in this day and age.
Right.
But because there's a loophole in that law that still exists, they went ahead and sued Spotify. So no word on whether or not they're actually going to win. But I mean, it's just insane. Lawyers rule the world for sure. But I think that we're pioneers in this. We're really the first generation to see this new type of format. So everybody is trying to, wade through deep space for the next, finding, because the artists don't really know. The publishing companies, the writers.
Well, it's changed so fast. Nobody knows exactly.
So fast.
By the time you catch up with where it is today, it's already moved on to tomorrow.
Right.
So everybody's always behind. That's kind of what's going on right now.
Well, it seems no sooner did everybody get, used to the downloads.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about discontinuing them.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted an iPod for Christmas, right? Because I go to the gym, and everybody in my family's like, use your phone. I'm like, I don't want to use my phone. I don't want to carry around a big clunky phone. I've got a little tiny iPod. That's what I want to use. And they're like, you can't buy them anymore. Like, no. I mean, you can buy them used or whatever. I'm like, so buy it used. I don't care.
Yeah, I recently, had to get a brand new battery for my Apple phone. I replaced it, and she uploaded everything that I had in the cloud. Because she looked at me, she goes, "When was the last time you uploaded to the cloud?" And I said, "Never." I go, "I don't know." I go, and then it occurred to me, I have 1,000 pictures. I have, I think it is probably in my iTunes library. I could probably access it, if I had to. But I just realized, like, oh my God, if I lost this phone, what a pain it would be.
And that's the other thing from a music standpoint. Again, I don't subscribe. So if I'm going to listen to music on my phone when I work out, if I just sync my phone with my 20,000 songs I have on iTunes, there's not going to be any space left in my phone. Like, it'll eat it all up. So, because the companies want you to stream. Well, I don't want to stream. I don't want to pay for that service. I want to pick my own songs and put them in my own iPod. Like, it drives me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just amazed at the amount of money that is going toward entertainment nowadays. I mean, they just think that, terrestrial radio is free. It's absolutely free, but yet and also TV used to be free as well.
Yeah.
But when you start talking about, hey, I want to pay for Netflix, hey, I want to pay for Spotify, well, there's $20 right there every month. When you're, a young person, who's struggling to pay their rent, to get by month to month, plus you've got this outrageous phone bill,
right?
And you got to pay for internet somehow, some way. It's just amazing to me. It's like, my God, we used to, I guess, what do we do? Did we spend our money on concert tickets in the bar, Steve? I don't remember. I'm just amazed.
I did spend a ton on music, though. I really did. But I was the weird kid. There's no question. But yeah, when I was either at the very end of being 17 or 8. No, it was 18. When I was 18, I spent at the time, so you can imagine with inflation, $950 on a stereo system.
Yeah.
At 18 years old. So
it meant something to you, though.
Yeah,
it was worth it.
I wanted to hear clarity at a crazy level.
But our bills consisted of, rent, food,
right,
car.
Well,
maybe,
when I was 18,
gas.
I lived at home, so
yeah. Well,
lived with my parents, I should say.
Even if as you moved out, into your 20s,
right?
I could count the amount of bills I had on one hand that I was responsible for.
Right.
But now I sit down with my daughter and she goes over what she has to pay. It's like, holy God, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's crazy.
But in her world, I've got to have this thing.
Right.
It means something to me. I want to pay for the premium service on Spotify. I want Netflix. I got to have this phone. So it's...
I agree with them on Netflix, damn it. I want it to. There's so much good sci-fi that's not available anywhere else.
I like Netflix,
Do you have or did you have a favorite? Like, I assume that you consumed, like, at some point you bought cassettes, you had an 8-track tape, you had vinyl, you had CDs. Was there... Or is this it? Is this your favorite? Is iTunes your favorite?
Yeah, actually, downloading is my favorite. I have to say, because I really enjoy putting together the playlists. And I really like the fact that, I can just, like I said, type in my password and there's the song right there. And then I can place it in with other songs and I can create mood music. But that's kind of like my life, only, the radio station, we don't have control over the music, very seldom. So now I actually have control over my own music. And a lot of times it's my go-to. Sometimes I want to hear, brand new stuff. I want to be surprised. I wouldn't mind probably a streaming service. It probably introduced me to a lot of new artists. But my God, Steve, look at how much music is rolling around in our brains.
I know, it's crazy.
It's like sometimes I hear a snippet of a song and I go, oh my God, I haven't heard that song in years.
Ooh,
and I want to hear it again.
I see a future game for us on our show. And listen to these 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And I will grade your response.
But, yeah, so downloads, and then I would have to say vinyl, and that's just for sentimental reasons. So would yours be vinyl?
I want to say yes, but I don't currently own a turntable, so it's hard to say that that's still my absolute favorite when I don't even have it currently. Certainly my best memories are attached to vinyl, and I loved the era, where there weren't distractions. There was no internet, there was no phone, there was just you in your room reading the lyrics and absorbing the music and creating, there were no videos, so you created your own video in your head. You saw what was going on in a particular song. So that era absolutely was my favorite. I probably prefer, I was going to say CD, but I don't spend as much time with that either. I guess just based on what my everyday is, it would have to be the digital realm. That's what I do every day.
Yeah.
So, but I remember making mixtapes for people, by the way, Ann, with production.
Of course it would be with production, Steve Black.
Production, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about. When I was 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, people would ask me to make mixtapes because I had all the albums.
Yeah.
And I couldn't just put the songs back to back. I would give their tape a name, right? Dave's Crazy Tunes, and then in between songs I would go Dave's Crazy Tunes.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, like it was on the radio.
You were born to be a DJ.
Yeah, I didn't even know it. Like I guess I had an inkling, but yeah I did. I can't even imagine the tapes that are still out there with, that I've made for people when I was 11.
Well, the argument is with the downloads, like the people feel like they don't really own anything. So they're kind of opposed to spending money on it. Was with the streaming services, I guess, I don't know, they don't feel that way. But I think for people like us who want to listen to so many different genres of music, and there's so much music, I think that for us, it makes sense.
I thought of something years ago, actually when CDs came out, so early 90s. I found myself buying the same album I had already bought 3 times because now I had to get it on CD, which is something we're going to talk about in our top 7 list here in moments. Wouldn't it be nice if they just sold you a license? So if I want to get, I don't know, pick a super popular album, Appetite for Destruction. I pay a one-time license fee of $30 or whatever they want to charge me, and then whenever they come out with a new format, I get that album because I've already paid for. I licensed it. So if you come out with a new super digital hydra quadraphonic whatever that doesn't exist now, when you release Appetite on it, you have to give it to me.
Some of these bands are so big, and their catalog is so immense that they probably could start their own streaming service.
Yeah.
I mean, take a clue from Jay-Z and Tidal. I mean, that's what he did. He put his entire catalog on his streaming service.
Fail?
No, it's still out there.
Oh, is it still out there?
Yeah, they have I think they have one of the largest catalogs of streaming services. It's like 45 million tunes.
Neil Young is doing this. He doesn't... I don't think he calls it a streaming service, but yeah, the only place his music is available digitally, or at least the music he controls, I think the labels control a few of his albums, is available on his website. And you don't necessarily download it. You pay a subscription fee, and you can access any of his songs that you want, and his entire history, including a bunch of live stuff. And so, yeah, it's not a bad thing if you've got a huge catalog.
Well, these artists have complained about how they don't feel like they're getting their just deserves financially when it comes to all this downloading and all this streaming. So this would be a way to try to recoup it. It would benefit the bigger bands, but once again, the smaller guys, they're prisoners to the industry.
You can always call me smaller guys. I make a mean mixtape with your very own production.
All the small things, true care, truth brings.
This is the sound of with Ann Carlini and Steve Black.